So every single year it happens. The Super Bowl. It feels like the biggest show on the planet, right? A huge cultural moment that seems to pull the entire country together. But what about all those people who just don't watch? And I'm not talking about the people who actively hate it. I mean the ones who simply don't care. It's a fascinating question. So let's dive into the psychology behind what we're calling Super Bowl indifference.
All right, so before we can really get into why someone wouldn't care, we first have to wrap our heads around just how big of a deal this is. I mean, the Super Bowl is way more than just a football game, you know? It's basically a national holiday, a massive showcase for commercials, and a social ritual all rolled into one big, noisy package.
Get this. On any given Super Bowl Sunday, about 115 million people in the U.S. are tuned in. Just let that number sink in for a second. 115 million. It's one of the very few times that a giant chunk of the country is doing the exact same thing at the exact same time. The scale is it's honestly staggering.
Okay, but here's the flip side. And this is where it gets really, really interesting for me. If 115 million people are watching, well, do the math. That means something like 215 million people are not. We're not talking about some tiny little fringe group here. This is, believe it or not, the silent majority. So who are they? And what is going on inside their heads that makes them just tune it all out?
All right, so before we really get into the nitty-gritty psychology, let's just debunk a few things first. There are a lot of common myths, a lot of simple assumptions people make about those who skip the big game. And honestly, most of them are just plain wrong. So the first big myth is that these people must just hate sports, all sports. But that's a huge leap, isn't it? I mean, think about it. You can absolutely love shooting hoops with your friends or be super passionate about running marathons, but that doesn't automatically mean you're going to be invested in a professional football game between two cities you have zero connection to. See, it's not about hate. It's just a different frequency.
Okay, here's another one you've probably heard, that it's all just snobbery. You know, people ignoring the Super Bowl just to feel superior or to be all counterculture. And yeah, sure, maybe that's true for a handful of people. But for the vast majority, it's not some conscious choice to be different. It's way, way deeper than that. It's often about how their brain is literally wired.
So yeah, let's talk about that wiring. This is what we can call the indifference engine, the real psychological machinery that makes the biggest television event of the year feel like nothing more than background noise to millions of people. And here's the most important thing to get right away. There's no single, simple answer here. There isn't just one off switch for caring about the Super Bowl. It's actually a really complex mix of things. A combination of your built-in personality, the mental filters you use to see the world, and all of your own unique life experiences.
So let's start with personality and wiring. For a classic introvert, the very idea of a loud, crowded, high-energy Super Bowl party, while that doesn't sound like fun, it sounds exhausting. Then you have something called sensation-seeking. Some people's brains just don't get that big dopamine rush from the drama and the high stakes of a game. To them, all the hype just feels like noise. And finally, some people are just naturally less drawn to that intense us versus them tribalism that really fuels sports fandom.
And then you've got our cognitive filters, the lenses we see the world through. For some folks, they're just wired to be skeptical of, hyper-commercialism. Their brains see the event less as a sport and more as one giant 4-hour ad for pickup trucks and light beer. And then others are just naturally resistant to what psychologists call social proof. That little voice in your head that says, hey, everyone else loves this, so I should too. For these people, the fact that something is popular doesn't make it more appealing. It might even do the opposite.
And this all ties into a really core concept in psychology. In-group/out-group bias. It's that deep, primal us versus them instinct we all have. Being a fan is all about choosing your side, your in-group, right? But if you never made that connection to a team, if you don't have an us in the fight, then the entire spectacle of people cheering and screaming and getting so worked up can feel, well, kind of meaningless, honestly.
Okay, so let's zoom out for a second, because really, this is about way more than just a football game. We live in this incredibly loud, information-packed world, right? We're constantly bombarded. And in a world like that, the choices we make about what to ignore are becoming just as important as the choices we make about what to pay attention to.
Which brings us to this key idea. Choosing what not to care about is as much a part of your identity as what you love. See, indifference isn't just this empty, passive thing. It's actually an active choice.
By deciding not to pour your limited time and emotional energy into the Super Bowl, you are, by default, choosing to put it somewhere else. Your apathy doesn't just happen to you, it helps you to find what truly matters to you, and in the end, it shapes a part of who you are.
So I want to leave you with a question to chew on. Maybe for you, it's not the Super Bowl. Maybe it's that TV show everyone is obsessed with, or that viral musician, or the latest blockbuster movie. What is the big, popular, cultural thing that you just completely ignore? And more importantly, what does that choice, that indifference, say about you and your own unique wiring?